va ben oltre la presenza di Putin, è un problema che si trascinano dietro probabilmente dall'Unione Sovietica e che non è mai stato completamente risolto. Io comincerei con un video che è stato ci ha mandato il collega del TG1 Giuseppe Solini, sì, adesso Re News 24 e quando lavorava al TG1. Ovviamente l'evento è organizzato dall'Associazione della Scuola di Giornalismo di Perugia, degli ex allievi della Scuola di Giornalismo di Perugia. Giuseppe Solines, che è appena passato a Rai News 24, ha fatto questo reportage di 7 minuti sull'opposizione in Russia un paio di anni fa, nel 2012. Io ho preso 2 minuti che stiamo per vedere. Riguarda proprio TV Dozd, TV Rain, TV Pioggia, chiamatela come volete. Questo era il video, in 2 minuti spiega un po' qual è il panorama dei media indipendenti russi, un video girato e prodotto a fine 2012. Nel frattempo è successo qualcosa di importante. Nella fine di gennaio, dello scorso gennaio 2014, è apparso un sondaggio online sul sito di Dozd in cui si chiedeva, non sul sito di Dozd, quasi, insomma, è apparso un sondaggio online in cui si chiedeva se valeva davvero la pena mantenere a tutti i costi Leningrado e non lasciarla ai tedeschi, piuttosto che causare molte morti. Non è esattamente così, va bene, adesso lui me lo dice con perfezione. Comunque sono andati a toccare un tasto molto caldo, che è quello della storia della Seconda Guerra Mondiale, che in Russia è ancora molto sentito come parte della storia patriottica e nazionale, di quella che chiamano la grande vittoria. Da quel momento, in 3 giorni, il canale è stato praticamente oscurato 90% in quasi tutti i canali che fanno parte della TV via cavo, e quindi il canale, che prima era visto da 20 milioni di russi, si è ritrovato con un pubblico molto molto inferiore. Volevo chiedere insomma a Mikhail, che è il direttore, il chief in editor di questa TV DOS, come è successo tutto, se ci può raccontare questi 3-4 giorni molto concitati, e insomma ci spiegherà tutto lui. E due direttore ha 33 anni, per la precisione, nominato a 29, un'età in cui in Italia, se sei fortunato, sei precario.
Thank you, Antonio. Probably I haven't caught your last phrase. I wasn't appointed as editor-in-chief not a long time ago. I was there from the beginning of the TV channel, and actually the story of attacks.
Hai sempre 33 anni. You're still 33. You're still 33 as young.
Oh,
I mean.
Okay. Just I'm sorry, I don't understand Italian. Probably that's something is wrong with the translation. So we have a long story of attacks against our TV channel, and actually the last one, the pretext for that attack was not the results of any survey held by the TV channel, but that was only a question itself. We didn't have any results, and we didn't have a chance to publish any results. The pretext for the attack was the question asked in Twitter for the viewers, and it really concerned the siege of Leningrad. The question itself was found to be very much insulting, and after it, the situation developed very rapidly. First, there was some reaction, I would say overreaction, from some pro-Kremlin activists. We have suspicion that they might be paid, but no matter. Some pro-Kremlin activists in Twitter. Then there was a special official statement by the State Duma. Then there was a special official statement made by the Association of Cable Operators, and the head of the association recommended for all cable operators to switch off the TV channel, and most of them quickly reacted and did their best to switch us off. And if initially I mean this January we had something like 20 million viewers. That's our monthly audience according to Gallup survey. After this series of decisions of our cable operators to switch us off, we were left only with 2 to 4 million. And then this blow continued with a series of reports made by state-run TV channels, and all of them accused us for being traitors or fascists, because we questioned the Soviet policy during the Great Patriotic War, well, the Second World War. That means, according to their logic, we supported Hitler. And after that, series of troubles that we had. First of all our advertisers have left, and then the owner of the studio we worked in announced that he's not going to renew our contract, and our contract is going to expire 20th of June, so in a month and a half. So we will be probably forced out of the studio we're now working. That's the brief history of our troubles during the last 3 months. Actually, we had some troubles before. I must recollect that for the first time we were switched off just in a week after we were launched. And it was also a direct phone call from Kremlin administration to the owner of our, that time, only cable operator. And the only reason for that blow, that time it was year 2010, was the fact that we didn't have any approval, any formal approval from Kremlin to launch our TV channel. We didn't know. It wasn't written rule. It was unwritten rule. But that time, because we didn't have approval from Kremlin, we were switched off. This time, that notorious question about siege of Leningrad and Second World War, of course, was not the reason. It was a pretext for the attack against us. What was the real reason? Probably the one and the most important reason was that we are the only independent news TV channel in Russia. During all these years, we always worked not as oppositional TV channel as we are sometimes called by our opponents, but we worked as a normal TV channel, so we gave floor to representatives of any side of the conflict, to the leaders of opposition, of different oppositional forces, and representatives of ruling party as well. We tried to cover all sides of any story, and we tried to work as independent as it possible. And also we had some investigations about corruption in Kremlin or in the ruling party as well. So that probably was the real reason for us having some problems. Now I'll show you a short video that probably will give you an impression about our TV channel, and also shortly tell and show you our story. That video was made especially for a fundraising campaign we had to organize about a month ago, because after all of our advertisers have left, we had no option but to ask for help for our viewers. And actually we managed to find it, and we still survive and still exist only because of help of our viewers. I'll tell about the success of that crowdfunding campaign after it. And now I'll show you.
How much money did you collect?
That's something like 42 million rubles. That's $1.5 million. So. This one, yeah? So, is there any sound?
Should be.
Sorry, I'll start it.
Vi ha convinto? Tirate fuori il portafoglio, aiutateli, dai. Zygmunt è un giornalista, ma non solo, polacco, conosce molto bene il mondo russo, soprattutto il mondo legato all'opposizione, ai media indipendenti, ed è un amico sicuramente di TV Rain. Zygmunt, cos'è che li rende davvero così diversi e unici nel panorama mediatico russo?
I've been watching the world of Russian media for the last 25 years, so it gives me a lot of material for comparison. And over this period of time, the world of Russian media has undergone a lot of transformation. We had absolutely miraculous period of the final years of Soviet Union under Mikhail Gorbachev perestroika, when for the first time Soviet and Russian media started speaking without censorship. That was inspiring, I must say. Certain television programs or certain newspapers and magazines produced stuff of historical importance. And of course, they had a lot to make up for, because for generations, free media were forbidden. So when this window of opportunity suddenly opened up, there were people able to take good opportunity of it. But then, after collapse of Soviet Union, I must say, I had very mixed feelings about Russian media. President Boris Yeltsin was said to be very much against censorship, but at the same time, the world of Russian media was bothered by the cancer of corruption. I must say, you were never sure reading a newspaper article whether it was article produced by independent journalists or if it wasn't a piece paid by somebody to blame somebody for something, or to compromise, or to throw some dirt at somebody. There was a war of leakages between different oligarchic factions and political factions. Of course, there was some decent journalism as well, investigative journalism, and especially during the Chechen war, we could see the development of some Russian journalism megastars like Anna Politkovskaya. But at the same time, I must say that this was this picture of conflicting picture, I would say so. And then comes President Putin, and we enter a new era. We enter a period of time when Kremlin has decided, for the sake of its own political interest, to take more strict control of the Russian media. It all started in 2001 with crushing NTV, independent television station, which led to massive rallies in Moscow. But that was clear that the relationship between the power and the media is going to be different. And that was this gradual, we observed this gradual process, 15 years of President Putin administration, trying to sort things out with the media and making sure that they produce content which is approved by the Kremlin and serves its political goals. And then comes TV Rain. I must say, this is a little bit like you enter a space which is full of gray and black color, and suddenly you something which is in inspiring green or bright color or red, and suddenly you see how it sticks out. It tells different words, its tune is different. These people don't lie, they don't sell their content for any political interest, and suddenly you have the breeze of fresh air. I must say I'm an addict of TV Rain, and I listen to Radio Echo of Moscow, I listen to Radio Liberty, but there were periods of times over the last 4 years when I had the feeling that it is not only journalism, it is some kind of passion and mission, that these people try to share their own understanding what is good and what is bad, to show the people who were willing to sacrifice their freedom and their prosperity. And I must say, use this opportunity, we are in public, to say a big thank you to all these 3 guys who are here with us.
Grazie Zygmunt. Io passerei, prima di tornare alla TV, passerei un attimo dal mondo di internet, perché abbiamo qui con noi un rappresentante uno dei rappresentanti di un sito che è tra i più visti in Russia. Il sito si chiama Slon, che vuol dire elefante, Karen Shanyan. Slon fa parte dello stesso gruppo della milionaria che possiede TV Dojd. A Karen chiederei subito un parere su quest'ultima legge che è stata appena approvata sui blog, che limita pesantemente i blog russi. Come questo andrà a cambiare il panorama dell'informazione su internet, e se andrà a cambiare il panorama dell'informazione su internet in Russia.
Thank you. Well, actually, I really don't have the exact answer for your question because nobody knows still. But what I want to stress out first of all is that we got to know that internet access and accessibility over the Russia is huge as for today. And in the whole Europe, Russia takes the first place in terms of accessibility of internet. Like according to the last year poll, it's something about 64% of people use at least one month internet or online. They surf some websites, so it's more than half. I mean, in general, our population is something about 140 million. And almost half of that population already use internet. So if like 10 or 15 years ago, when Putin just came in his first term, internet was completely free area, like total freedom of speech. And the coverage of web was so tiny that nobody paid attention. And if we look to the history of crackdown of press in Russia. First of all, of course, in the end of 1990s and in the beginning of new century, they cracked down the federal TV channels, which is obvious because they are the most influential source of information. And for the long period, there was a notion like Putin needs some free press, like minor printed newspapers or magazines like Kommersant, Novaya Gazeta, or some other very liberal, very privately funded and unloyal to the Kremlin press, to make sort of facade, sort of illusion of freedom of speech in Russia. And it stayed that way until recently, until maybe 2 or 3 years ago, when they cracked down Kommersant, which is the leading business publication in Russia, and some other influential media, and first of all printed. And still, internet stayed very open and very free from any sort of censorship or self-censorship. And it turns out that now these days are gone. And like recently, the biggest news source, online news source, lenta.ru, which was really huge, and they made editor-in-chief to resign. They fired her, actually, and the whole team, whole editorial just left with her. And it turns out that the publication I work in, Slon, which is the second biggest, maybe, or third biggest online news source, in our days is one of the last to be free and to cover whatever we want, the way we consider a proper way to handle. I mean, we can do all the investigations and all the news from the balanced viewpoint on all the issues, including Crimea, Ukraine, Western and Russian tension in economy and political terms, and so on. So, like maybe a couple days ago, I had a small chat with my editor-in-chief, Andrei Garanov, and he just took 4 people from Lenta who resigned. He invited them to make news in our editorial. Very strong and good news writers. And I asked him, so what's our plan? And he was like, okay, well, now we're gonna be we're gonna replace Lenta. And I was like, okay, and we will go the same way. And he said, of course we will. So this is something we want to do, to go that way, to gain that influence, to be that influential, to gain all that huge auditory Lenta used to have, and maybe to be closed as it was closed. I mean, not closed, but, you know, cracked down. So, coming back to your question about that new law, it really sounds scary, because now each and every person who has his own website or any page with more than 3,000 visitors per day must register his website or his blog or anything else like official publication, like a medium. Which not only sounds really ridiculous, but also it means that it might be controlled. And furthermore, right on the way here, on our flight, we've seen the front page of the newspaper, Kommersant again, saying that in Kremlin they are preparing a new law that will allow to fully control internet in Russia. So there should be several levels of internet providers, like locals, regional, and federal level. And only federal providers would be allowed to have connection to Western sources and Western DSMs and so on. So that might be they're trying to control and filter and make a huge censorship like in China, for example. However, the good thing is that everybody knows, and especially according to Chinese experience, that it's almost impossible to control internet. And it's not only complicated, it's also very, very unprofitable, because you lose a lot of money, because internet is not only about press or freedom of speech, it's also about business, about economy, and when you try to apply all those tools, they will get down the speed of the internet and make it more complicated to make all the business and stuff. So I think that this period of big hype about censorship and new rigid laws, it's very temporary, and it's not going to last for a long time, and I'm pretty optimistic. Yep, thank you.
Grazie, veniamo a Tikhon Chatko, che dovrebbe essere l'unico a parlare in lingua russa in questo consesso. Ti vorrei chiedere, tu so che segui con particolare attenzione gli esteri, quello che viene dal mondo, no? Karen ha citato il caso di Lenta.ru, il caso che ha costretto alle dimissioni la Galina Timchenko, che la dirigeva, è stato il fatto di aver intervistato, da quello che ho letto, correggimi se sbaglio, aver intervistato un leader dell'estremista ucraino. Quindi questo in qualche modo ci ricollega Non è per questo, ok, perfetto. Ce lo puoi spiegare tu. Comunque questo, in base a questo vorrei sapere appunto il modo in cui voi state seguendo la crisi ucraina, prima i fatti di Kiev, poi i fatti della Crimea, adesso i fatti di Donetsk. Come lo state seguendo e se vi state distinguendo dagli altri media russi?
Огромное спасибо. Я действительно буду говорить по-русски. Насколько я понимаю, у нас есть блестящий перевод. Что касается интервью с представителями украинских организаций, я так понимаю, вы имели в виду моего коллегу, бывшего сотрудника издания «Лента.ру» Илью Азара, который делал интервью с одним из руководителей правого сектора. Это к телеканалу «Дождь» не имеет ровным счетом никакого отношения, но многими это рассматривалось как одна из причин или поводов для того, чтобы была уволена Галина Тимченко. Что касается освещения украинских событий, то телеканал «Дождь» освещает украинские события абсолютно так, как он освещает события в России, Италии, Франции, на Филиппинах и в других точках нашей планеты. Все события телеканал «Дождь» освещает во всей полноте, с возможностью получить информацию из всех точек происходящего и с возможностью получить все точки зрения. Собственно, мы не исключаем, что одной из последних капель, которая стала причиной всей той ситуации, которая началась с нашим телеканалом в январе, как раз было освещение нами украинского кризиса. Мы были единственным российским средством массовой информации, которое не прекращая транслировало картинку с Майдана, где в этот момент происходили главные мировые события. Наши корреспонденты постоянно работали в Киеве, затем они работали в Крыму, они постоянно работают в Восточной Украине, и мы берем интервью как у представителей новой киевской власти, так и у тех, кто им противостоит в восточных областях страны, так и с бывшими соратниками Виктора Януковича, которые позиционируют себя как оппоненты новой киевской власти. В этом, собственно, заложен основной принцип работы нашего телеканала. Основной принцип заключается в том, что мы не встаем ни на одну сторону и ни на другую сторону любого противостояния, будь то противостояние в Крыму, на Украине, во Франции, Америке или где-то еще. И мы даем нашим зрителям картинку во всей ее полноте. Это, к сожалению, никаким образом не вписывается в ту концепцию развития средств массовой информации, которая складывается в России в последние месяцы. И поэтому ситуация вокруг телеканала «Дождь», она уникальна, но в то же время она является отражением общей тенденции. Не случайно, что поводом для атаки на телеканалы и поводом для кампании против телеканала «Дождь» стала тема, связанная с Великой Отечественной войной. Мы видим, что сегодня эта тема используется как в общественной жизни, так и во внутренней и внешней политике российской. Достаточно посмотреть на то, с каким контекстом объясняются события, каким контекстом объясняются действия России в Украине. Мы видим, что пророссийские активисты носят георгиевские ленточки, которые имеют отношение к памяти о Великой Отечественной войне. И это главная тема, которая, и по сути единственная тема, которая сегодня объединяет все российское общество. Это события 70-летней давности, Вторая мировая война и победа в ней. Поэтому именно это было использовано в качестве повода для атаки на телеканал «Дождь» в январе. Однако, как я уже сказал, ситуация с «Дождем», она является абсолютным отражением с ситуации в целом с российскими медиа, но столкнувшись с отсутствием средств, столкнувшись с необходимостью просить средства у наших зрителей и столкнувшись с необходимостью устраивать вот эти кампании по фандрайзингу, один из элементов, который мы сейчас показывали этот ролик, мы увидели, что в российском обществе сейчас содержится огромный запрос на подобную информацию, огромный запрос на независимую информацию, огромный запрос на непредвзятую информацию. Тот факт, что наши зрители всего за неделю перечислили нам $1,5 миллиона, это говорит даже больше всех благодарственных слов и слов поддержки, которые мы получаем в ежедневном режиме. Это говорит о том, что людям в России не хватает информации, людям в России не хватает свободной информации, и они за эту информацию готовы платить. Поэтому, с одной стороны, та ситуация, которая происходит с телеканалом «Дождь», она, несомненно, тревожна и, несомненно, прискорбна, но одновременно с этим она нам показывает и демонстрирует очень важные тенденции. Спасибо.
E poi cos'è che vi ha dato appunto questa idea?
I would say just the opposite. From the very beginning, we knew that that Russian society, that most of Russian society is fed up with normal, traditional, mainstream state-run TV channels, and that's why our main goal from the very beginning was to give the audience another type of television, the television they would be able to watch. And our first slogans were just two: give television one more chance, and don't be afraid to switch on TV. And that were our slogans 4 years ago. And just rather soon we realized that and when we started our broadcasting with news. And very soon we realized that news is just what people miss and what they lack, because they have enough entertainment content, they have enough music, enough shows. They don't have real news, real debates, special live debates, and they lack some political analysis. And that's what we were focused on from the very beginning, and especially that need of the audience for such content was felt in the fall 2011, when a series of protest rallies took place in Russia. It followed just the parliamentary election of 2011, when people in Moscow protested against supposedly rigged election. And we were that TV channel that gave the full coverage of the election itself and of all the protests, of all the... We gave floor to leaders of different political groups, and that was the probably most important point in the history of modern Russian media, because some kind of invisible red line appeared, and those media who covered those events decently, from one side were labeled as liberal enemies of the state, but simultaneously they proved that they work for the sake of their audience, and they want to give the audience full information about what's happening. And another sort of Russian media who neglected those events just stayed loyal and stayed safe.
Grazie. Zygmunt, io ti chiederei, tu da osservatore esterno, come stai vedendo la televisione pubblica, come sta seguendo la televisione pubblica il conflitto in Ucraina, al di là ovviamente di TV The Rain?
Это очень хороший вопрос, потому что в основном население России смотрит 3 телевизионных канала. Оно смотрит Первый канал, оно смотрит Второй канал, который теоретически принадлежит государственной компании ВГТРК с таким странным названием, и смотрит типа частный канал, но мы все знаем, что он государственный. Он называется НТВ. Это как бы то, что осталось из давнего НТВ, который являлся порядочным, нормальным телевизионным каналом. Вот вы смотрите это, и как бы, если вы знаете, о чем они говорят, вы сразу видите, как они лгут. Это вообще создает вопрос, вы задаете себе вопрос, как эти люди, которые там находятся в ящике, вот, на мониторе, вот, они говорят, что человек черного цвета кожи, которого вы только что увидели, он на самом деле желтый. Или флаг, который вы увидели, там зеленый для вас, а они рассказывают, что он там фиолетовый. То есть, но это когда вы знаете. А если вы не знаете, и вы живете далеко в российской глубинке, где-то в Сибири или на Дальнем Востоке, то вы как-то понимаете, что, может быть, они совсем говорят правду, и, может быть, они тоже немножко вами манипулируют. Но телевидение воспринимается в России как инструмент государственной власти. Это точка зрения государства. Вот наше государство, которое о нас заботится, оно вот сейчас вот так видит то, что происходит там в Украине. Персонажи, которые показывают дождь, вы их или увидите на официальных государственных каналах, или вы их увидите, и они будут облиты грязью. Скажут об Алексее Навальном, который являлся очень часто гостем телеканала «Дождь», и в одном интервью сказал даже, что он в будущем рассматривает для себя вопрос, что он хочет стать президентом Российской Федерации, то на других телеканалах, и который является нормальным оппозиционным политиком, который сражается с властью в несвободной стране. Вот на других телеканалах о нем будут говорить самые ужасные, лживые слова. Вот нужно сказать, что эта ситуация, она для меня лично, нужно сказать, она такая неприятная, потому что я же принадлежу к другому поколению. И мы же это все помним из коммунистических времен, когда СМИ полностью контролировались коммунистическими партиями. Наверное, в Советском Союзе еще жестче, чем в моей родной Польше. И мы понимали, что нам нужно искать другие источники информации. Такими источниками информации являлись радиостанции, вещающие за рубежа, или газеты, или журналы, которые печатались за рубежом. Но вот в России мы потихонечку, вот то, что изменилось за эти годы, это появление интернета, это немножко меняет ситуацию. Но вот в современной России у вас есть или вот эти официальные источники информации, или по телевидению, это телеканал «Дождь». Мы в Москве как-то вот, когда я встречал ребят, и мы обсуждали наши совместные выступления на фестивале в Перуджа, мы как бы перечислили все независимые СМИ в России. Десятку набрали, Михаил? Десятку не набрали. То есть,
я думаю, 5.
Включая печатные издания, включая интернет-ресурсы. Не добрали десятку.
Может быть, 8.
8, видите. Но вот это же Россия занимает, вот вчера, по-моему, Freedom House, американская организация, выпустила свой очередной результат своего исследования о свободе слова в современном мире. Но вот там, по-моему, насчитали там 190 или 200 разных государств. Которое место занимает Россия? Ну, 50-е это уже было бы плохо, да? А 120-е это была бы уже катастрофа, но она занимает 179-е. И мне кажется, это как раз полностью показывает, в какой степени ситуация с современными СМИ в России, она находится в ужасном положении.
If I may, I would like to add something. I promised that I would speak English, so I would keep on speaking English just to help our interpreters. So, first of all, probably the trend is really very negative, and I'm not very optimistic about the future of Russian media, but so far some free media still exists. So I don't know the situation with press in those 169 countries that are better than Russia, but probably that's not so awful. The public executions of journalists is not practiced so far. But one important thing I would like to add about state propaganda, that what we've seen during the last month probably is that the perception of state propaganda has changed, the perception by the society. As I've spoken before, about 4 years ago, most people did not believe what state TV channels claimed. No one believed state propaganda. Most people, especially educated middle class, were laughing because of news made by state TV channels. And now something has changed. Now suddenly, during this Crimea and Ukrainian crisis, many people suddenly started believing in what they're being told. There is a phrase, the more bold is the lie that you hear, the more is possibility that you will believe it. And that's the case. Now the propaganda is much bolder and much bigger than it has been before. And suddenly many people started believing it, and Russian society is very much polarized by into two groups, two very big groups of those who believe state TV channels and those who don't believe. And those two groups evidently hate each other, and sometimes it leads to some tragic situations. For example, we have a correspondent who is working for our TV channel, and something like a month ago, she stopped talking to her parents. Her parents were the initiative was theirs. They stopped talking to her because she's a traitor and she works for Dost, and they believe what state TV channel VGTRK says. They believe that Putin is right, and that Dost betrayed Putin and their country, and if their daughter is working for traitors, they're not going to support her, to talk to her. And that's not a unique situation, that's rather common, and that's the most scary I found.
Karen, c'è tutto questo sforzo per in qualche modo controllare la televisione da una parte, però dall'altra tu ci hai detto che il 64% dei russi, che è una cifra piuttosto grande, ha accesso a internet. Dunque, qual è la fonte di informazione che più seguono i russi?
I guess still the main source of information for the majority of people is TV, of course, and federal channels first of all. But if we're talking about online media, the major sources of fast news are Russian Yandex and Mail.ru, which are like big websites based mostly on email function, but with a strong news part. So the top news in RU internet, they are always in Yandex or Mail.ru, and this is something most of people read. I would love to say that, of course, people read us, or they read, I don't know, Gazeta.ru, which is also pretty much liberal and more or less fair. But unfortunately, that's not true. And the majority of people, they don't go to the, upscale and high quality sources. They use common websites which gather all sorts of information. So, did I answer your question?
Sì. Grazie. Tikhon, che cosa ti senti di aggiungere a questa discussione rispetto a tutto quello che abbiamo detto? C'è qualcosa in particolare che vuoi aggiungere?
Огромное спасибо. Да, мне хотелось бы добавить к тому, что говорил Михаил про российскую пропаганду. Действительно, мы видим, что российская пропаганда эволюционирует, и она начинает играть иную роль, чем она играла несколько лет назад. Если несколько лет назад российская пропаганда должна была очернять и должна была вносить сомнения в умы людей относительно деятелей, которые существует вразрез с той генеральной линией, которая избирается в Кремле, то теперь российская пропаганда является не каким-то сопроводительным орудием, а российская пропаганда является изначальным орудием. Например, во время протестов в российских городах, в Москве, Санкт-Петербурге и других городах в декабре, которые начались в декабре 2011 года после парламентских выборов, вскоре после этого на российском телеканале НТВ вышел фильм, который назывался «Анатомия протеста». В этом фильме рассказывалось, что люди выходили на демонстрации за деньги Государственного департамента США и за печенье, которые из Государственного департамента им приносили за участие в митингах. Через несколько месяцев после этого появился другой фильм, который назывался «Анатомия протеста 2», о связях российских оппозиционных лидеров с грузинскими политиками, и на основе этого фильма было заведено уголовное дело, по которому люди по-прежнему сидят в тюрьме и их сейчас судят. То есть в нынешнем виде государственные журналисты выполняют уже не столько роль пропагандистов, понятно, не роль журналистов, сколько роль в каком-то смысле прокуроров и следователей. В этой связи, несомненно, мы видим, что в России идет огромное разделение в обществе, огромное разделение по принципу, что вы читаете и что вы смотрите, и кому вы верите и кому вы доверяете. Соответственно, те люди, которые доверяют российским государственным средствам массовой информации, как абсолютно справедливо отметил Михаил, ненавидят тех, кто не доверяет этим средствам массовой информации, и наоборот. Это в известной степени поколенческий какой-то конфликт, это в известной степени конфликт цивилизационный, но, естественно, в основе своей это конфликт надуманный. И в равной степени надуманы и все обвинения, которые порой звучат в адрес нашего телеканала «Дождь», на котором мы работаем, поскольку в российских официальных средствах массовой информации или из уст российских парламентариев можно слышать, что телеканал существует на деньги Государственного департамента США, или что на этом телеканале работают предатели, или что на этом телеканале работают враги России.
Они, слава богу, пока еще не обвиняли нас в том, что мы работаем на деньги Госдепа. Они просили прокуратуру проверить, на какие деньги мы работаем.
И на самом деле, несомненно, все это не несет в себе ни доли какой-то истины, все эти вопросы и все эти обвинения, а истину несет только то, что, к сожалению, в нынешнем обществе, в том виде, как его себе представляет нынешняя российская власть, не приветствуется независимая позиция, не приветствуется независимое суждение и не приветствуется какая-то попытка задавать вопросы. Собственно, атака на нас началась не с ответа и не с нашего суждения про осаду, про блокаду Ленинграда, она началась с того, что мы задали вопрос. Вопросы нынешняя российская власть не любит, а тем, кто их задает, она дает свой однозначный ответ. Спасибо.
Grazie a te. C'è qualcuno che ha voglia di rompere il ghiaccio? Avete domande, dubbi? Volete approfondire qualche aspetto che abbiamo citato? Sì.
Una domanda, statisticamente, visto che c'è un certo scetticismo nei confronti...
Presentati, scusami.
Chiedo scusa, Giulia Mustaikina. Un certo scetticismo nei confronti di mass media televisivi. Penso che statisticamente parlando, fenomeno ormai non solo russo ma anche europeo, siamo passati a trasmissioni della radio per avere informazioni più attendibili. Perché di nuovo non c'è ragione da nessuna parte, né da parte di Cremlino né da parte di opposizioni politiche, ma vedo che TV ultimamente plasma i cervelli e la gente un
Tu
po'...
ti fidi più della radio, tu in quanto
Mi
cittadina
fido
russa?
ultimamente più della radio perché non ho tempo da perdere con la TV, sinceramente.
Michael, è curioso che è proprio il tipo di persona a cui puntate voi come target di mercato. Lo dicevi prima, lo dicevi anche con me prima, quelle persone che non vogliono più guardare la televisione perché non si fidano. A questo punto è il vostro canale.
I haven't got the question of Yulia.
Lei dice che non si fida della televisione, che non vuole perdere tempo.
As such.
Sei d'accordo?
So, I understood you correctly. Can we trust television as such, or we should get rid of this media and just switch on the radio?
Sì, lei dice ci dobbiamo fidare solo della radio. She says we have to trust only radio.
Probably, I know that in Russia, radio is mainly listened to is listened by those who are driving from their home to the job, only in car. So, speaking about the credibility of different Russian radio stations, the situation is pretty much the same. We have very little radio stations that could be that could boast with quality level of journalism, and probably the most distinguished one is Echo of Moscow, although it has been compromised a bit during the last months. It's difficult to compare television as such and radio as such. According to all the latest estimates, that's a global tendency, that popularity of television is still growing. But the other fact is that the average viewer, that's a global trend, is becoming older and older, and mostly average TV viewer is a guy probably in his 50s, and probably that's not only Russian tendency. That's I'm afraid Italian as well, because more elderly people have enough time to watch television, and that's just the same about our TV channel. We know that if we count our viewers who watch us through TV set, that's more older people, older than 50 at least. If we count the audience who watches us online, that's younger people, 25, 45.
Michael, conviene ancora fare televisione? Conviene ancora fare televisione in Russia? Si fanno ancora soldi in Russia? Ovviamente al di là delle pressioni e dei limiti politici.
You know, that's very hard to make business doing news television, because it's okay and rather profitable to make business if you are running some probably porn channel or something entertaining, but that's very difficult to earn money if you are related with news, and if you are trying to be a decent man, and if you want to afford criticizing anyone, you can criticize. That's not the best way to do your fortune, to make a fortune. Although, however, I think we had an opportunity to become a profitable business, and that was our main goal, because our audience has always been so-called educated middle class or creative class, as we call it in Russia. That's the premium audience that should attract all the advertisers. So without any obstacles, artificial obstacles we encountered during the last year, we would have become a profitable TV channel probably by the end of this year, without all that attacks and scandals and campaign against us. Probably that was another reason for the attack, because if, thanks to our commercial partners, to our advertisers, we would have become profitable, that would mean that we are independent, and we don't depend on Kremlin or on some political forces or on some regulators. That's why our TV channel as independent business was crashed.
Sì, c'è anche un problema di distribuzione del mercato pubblicitario, ne abbiamo parlato ieri in Russia, un mercato che vi ha tenuto in parte quasi totalmente fuori, e soprattutto adesso che non avete una visibilità, la visibilità che avevate prima a causa appunto della chiusura nei vari network via cavo. Penso che ci sia una domanda. Più di una. Bene, raccogliamole e i relatori se le segneranno e risponderanno di seguito. Prego, presentazione per favore e domanda.
Hello, I'm Eric Matthews. I'm curious what your viewing public can do to advocate, to work with advocacy groups like perhaps Glasnost Defense Fund, or are there other groups that will work independently to advocate on your behalf, on the media's behalf, to maintain an independent press, to fight these laws that you're bringing up with us?
Next question.
Volevo fare una domanda invece sul ruolo dell'informazione occidentale verso questi fatti, sia dell'Ucraina che della situazione in Russia. Io mi ricordo quando c'erano questi fatti dell'opposizione, sui media europei, insomma, si parlava tanto di questa opposizione liberale, no? Che era l'opposizione che si opponeva a Putin. Poi quando abbiamo visto il voto, l'unica opposizione era stata quella comunista a Putin, mi pare quella l'unica presente nella Duma. No? Quindi, poi in questo fatto qui dei fatti dell'Ucraina, prima si è esaltata appunto l'opposizione a Yanukovych, che ricordo che è un presidente eletto, no? Un po' è successo quello che è successo con Morsi in Egitto, che era stato eletto e poi la piazza l'ha ribaltato, diciamo. Quindi forse si parla di... non si tiene conto di questo fatto, no? E poi si è parlato che quando con la cacciata di Yanukovych l'Ucraina sarebbe, per chi conosce un po' di storia di quelle parti, sarebbe scoppiata la guerra civile, perché c'è una larga fetta della popolazione, anzi la più ricca, che propende per avere un rapporto privilegiato con la Russia, no? Quindi la parte est che si sta ribellando. Quindi in questo caso il ruolo della propaganda non soltanto russa, parliamo anche del ruolo della propaganda occidentale, quindi anche con interessi americani e europei in queste vicende. Grazie.
Altra domanda? Ok. Rispondi a quest'ultima, perché lui, essendo polacco, fa parte di questa cattiva stampa occidentale corrotta e fondata, non so, da qualche cattivone.
Western propaganda, corrupt Western propaganda. It's absurd, I must say. We had wonderful panel this morning about Ukraine, and if you were here, you had a chance to learn from people who were active during the Ukrainian revolution. Ukrainians had good enough reason to overthrow their president. And I think they had enough patience to wait so many years before they kicked him out. They had incredibly corrupt regime, and Yanukovych shouldn't have been elected in the first place.
Hai toccato le corde di Zygmunt.
I have to say that, of course, Ukraine as a country has become an interesting country for different geopolitical question. It is a serious geopolitical question. But at the same time, don't forget about fair aspirations of Ukrainian people who maybe would like to live in non-corrupt and free country. And they are not happy with the pressure coming from Russia, from the present-day Kremlin.
Chi vuole rispondere alla prima domanda? Who wants to answer the first question about NGOs?
If I may, I would like to say a couple of words about Western propaganda as well, because that's a big problem for us. Because every time we come across any very incorrect, I would say, reporting by CNN or Guardian or any distinguished Western media, that's a great present for Russian state-run propaganda. Every time we see any terrible mistake, sometimes it's made on purpose, sometimes it's accidental, but we're told, every time we see it, we're told, look, they have just the same propaganda as we do, and if they can do it, why we can't? If they could invade Iraq, why can't we do it with Crimea? If they could annex Kosovo, why can't we do it? If they have propaganda, if CNN does like this, why cannot Russia Today behave the same way?
Everybody lies.
Yeah, everyone lies, and we can do it for the sake of the stability of our country. And every time when we are telling them that, but okay, Western media can make some mistakes. We are not Western media. We are Russian media, and we're trying to find the truth. We're trying to be normal. We're trying to be objective and neutral. And they are answering, no. There is no independent journalism, no neutral media. There are two sides. You are with us or you are against us. If you are not with us, that means that you are with them. You are part of Western propaganda. And that's label very hard to wear, and we're even more, or just in the same way, victims of Western propaganda as victims of Russian propaganda.
This is exactly the pattern which had been created in communist times. It worked exactly the same way, even though it was more rough and stronger. But the pattern has been reproduced again now.
Mi ricordo di aver visto un documentario polacco che dava la colpa della mancanza del grano a un virus, a un batterio che era stato portato dai capitalisti. Forse anche tu lo ricordi, Zygmunt, i tempi dell'Unione Sovietica, di questi cinegiornali. Allora io direi, siccome abbiamo ancora 6 minuti, le ultime 2, massimo 3 domande e relative risposte.
I understand that Vladimir Putin said something a couple days ago about Doge TV, suggesting that the authorities perhaps had been too rough on it and that they should have a little more opportunity to operate. Это по поводу заявления Путина о том, что, может быть, власти слишком жестко относились к Rain TV.
Please.
Меня зовут Анна Балкина. My name is Anna Balkina. I would like to have a small comment about Russian propaganda and the Russian federal channels, just for international public.
Very short one, please.
Very short. It's not just propaganda. It's federal channels are full of falsifications, and there is a famous video on YouTube when one man was shown on federal channel who was Ukrainian, who arrived to Ukraine from Germany with money to support Maidan. And 30 minutes after, on another channel, the same man was shown on another federal channel who was a victim of Maidan. So this shows totally, not only propaganda, but maximum of falsifications on federal channels. And I would like just from the TV channels, the only channel that I watch, I don't watch federal channels for 4 years because of propaganda. Fully maximum support for you.
Thank you.
Pagata dagli americani?
One question more, please. Can I have one question, please? Okay, I'm Daniela, and I was, the question is for the journalists of the TV Rain. It's about, yes, a considerable part of the society, of Russian society, do watch Doge, but still the biggest part prefer federal channels. So how do you think, how can you just attract these people to your content? And is it true that if your audience grows up, then the approval to the government will diminish? Thank you.
One minute each, if possible.
Да, я хотел бы просто сказать 2 слова по поводу западной пропаганды. Это не моя проблема, это ваша проблема. Наша проблема — это российская пропаганда. Поэтому это вопрос не нам. Что же касается аудитории, то мне кажется, что единственное, что мы можем делать, это каким-то образом нашу аудиторию увеличивать. И аудитория увеличивается, если мы качественно работаем. Мы стараемся качественно работать, и мы видим, что наша аудитория становится больше, если нам не помогают ее искусственно уменьшить.
There is a problem, please. Can you repeat this in English? In English, because they could not translate from Russian.
I can say
now
that.
It's working. Now you can go back to Russian.
So I can say, talking about Western propaganda, that's not our problem. It's your problem to deal with Western propaganda. Our problem is to deal with Russian propaganda. And talking about our audience, if it's small or it is big, all we can do, all we have to do to make our audience bigger is to work hard and work good. And that's what exactly we're doing. And we see that the numbers of our viewers become bigger. And if nobody will help us to lose these viewers like they did with our cable and satellites partners, I hope that we will see that our audience will become bigger and bigger.
And I must answer the question about President Putin and his latest remarks about our TV channel. Indeed, that was very unusual when President Putin suddenly referred to our channel and said that he knows the channel, he likes it, and there is very good young group of journalists working for Dost, and everyone was surprised and amazed, and we received a bunch of congratulations that day, and we were told, thanks God, you're forgiven, that's okay, no problems for you. But if we try to analyze what he said, there was one more phrase. He said that if Dost has some problems with state agencies or state interferes into your activity, I'll try to stop it, and you won't have any problems because of state interference. The problem is we don't have any problems with the state. All problems that we have is with our commercial partners. All the cable operators that switched us off, they're independent companies, privately owned. They're not state-owned. Of course, all the owners of those companies got direct phone calls from Kremlin, and they were demanded to drop us. But that was their own decision. All the advertisers that left and that withdrew their advertising budget from us, they are private companies. Most of them are foreign companies that don't want to put under some risk their business in Russia, but they're not state agencies. We have no problems with state agencies, and we have a letter from Prosecutor General's office claiming that Dosh TV channel has not broken any law and hasn't done anything illegal, and so we have no questions for it. So we are thankful for President Putin that he made a little advertisement for us, and he likes our group of journalists, but so far we saw no consequences of his remarks, and no advertiser came back, and no cable operator decided to switch us on. We think that we should wait, because everyone is waiting. Our cable operators really want to switch us on again, and the owner of our studio really wants to keep us in our studio because he doesn't want us to be destroyed, and we believe him, but he cannot renew our contract without real approval from Kremlin, and he hasn't got this approval, and that sudden phrase of President Putin means nothing.
Chiuderà Tikhon, un breve intervento.
Я просто в завершение хотел добавить к тому, что говорил Михаил сейчас, что эта ситуация, она на самом деле очень показательная, и она показательна в целом и в российском медиа, и в российском обществе. Все процедуры идеальны, все процедуры абсолютно безупречны, и все процедуры очень красиво работают, но на самом деле все происходит иначе. И если мы посмотрим то, что происходит с медиа, никакие медиа в последнее время не закрываются из-за того, что туда пришел спецназ, или из-за того, что туда пришла полиция. Все медиа закрываются как будто бы по рыночным причинам. Все медиа закрываются как будто бы по экономическим причинам. Но, тем не менее, мы знаем, кто эти экономические причины вызывает, кто кому звонит и кто что требует. Поэтому, если говорить про слова Владимира Путина, это действительно огромное спасибо ему за такую рекламу, но мы не можем быть уверенными, что за этим последует превращение экономического существования из его такого очень странного существования в нынешнем виде в то существование, каким оно должно быть.
Grazie, come avete visto anche da questi ultimi interventi la situazione è molto più complessa di come magari pensavate che fosse, e noi auguriamo un enorme in bocca al lupo, good luck al TV Dojd perché continuino a trasmettere in libertà come fanno da 4 anni a questa parte. Grazie per averci seguito, grazie per la pazienza, buona serata.